if you have any questions. And good morning and good afternoon. Welcome. I looked at the chat and at the participants, and I see some familiar names. So welcome, you guys. Glad you could join. What I'm going to do today is, since release 22 came out, tools 9261, Oracle and JDE Edwards has released, I've listed 9 here, new visual apps. And the majority of them, the only one different here is this last one, which is the new mobile PO approval app. The other apps there you see listed, Work Center Load Review has been rewritten from the old ADF architecture, so it does not require ADF. None of these do. And they're using Java Extension Toolkit Jet apps to present the applications to you, that in conjunction with orchestrations for data retrieval and updating. So, and I thought it would be interesting to do a session just to kind of highlight all of these new visual apps to give your users a better experience with JDE Edwards. And one I've added into here, the property map, and I think I'll start with that one because I like it a lot. I mean, I like a lot of these. There's some good value in these, but it's based off the address book in JDE. There's a program you can run that will update latitude and longitude based on the customer's address. And then the property map is the Jet app that shows a map along with where this property address book appears. And what Oracle is doing in 9271, aka release 23, which they should be announcing next week, will include the capability to just call an address book property map. So not necessarily a property you own, but just a map off the address book. So something that anybody who uses JDE for where's my customer, where's my supplier, where is this branch plant location, whatever it may be, you can see where that is on a map to get a sense of that. Employee organization chart has been rewritten along with Work Center Load Review into the Jet apps. I'm going to show you those as well. And then there are some new ones, staff utilization. And I'll show you that as we go through that. Visual bill of materials and where used diagram. Again, both have been rewritten. They were out there, but now they're Jet apps. And what I will point out for any of you, you do not have to be on release 22 or 9261. These are all available to you to install from 9254 release. The 5.4 release is important because they did a little tools enhancement to pass the token for security in and out of the app into JDE Edwards. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and show these new visual apps to you. And feel free to throw chat questions out there. I got a little chat window open and I'll take a look at them on and off and try to answer them as we go along. So I'm going to start here by logging into one of my demo systems, and we'll start with the property map, as I said. So now I have in my favorites put all the Jet apps available to us, right? So these are the Jet apps. So we're going to start with the property location map. You'll see all of these new Jet apps have a suffix of a letter X at the end of them. So they're all you're easier for you to find. If you do an IV interactive version, look for those with the X at the end. Those are all out there for you as well once you've got them installed. Kind of your point out, Mike was already mentioning maybe the future. If you want to, Brian Thompson, who is one of our technical guys, he has installed all these apps and he's running a sessions in Focus next week on how you can download and deploy and take advantage of them as long as you're on a 9254 release and going forward. So a property map, as you can see, you come in here and it just starts querying by company, what building types you're looking at. And we can go ahead and say, just show all the properties, in this case, for the real estate management company in my demo system, which are the commercial office buildings that are available, and it pops out and highlights, shows you on a map where those are at. As you pass your mouse over, they will bring out the default images with that attach to those address books. So you can see where you're at, and especially if you're a larger organization with different properties, maybe you're your business units for rental properties or something like that, you can display them. And like I said, they're going to be fixing these up and making this application available for address books. Once I get hands on that, I'll show you that one. So you can look at the building type. We can now switch from our commercial office buildings to our retail properties. And there you can see we've got a retail property, which is an Airport Plaza East, with the same link to it. Can filter in on projects if you have them underneath the job cost module, or specific buildings you can go into, depending on how complex your real estate property units and or an organization is. So like I said, it does use latitude and longitude associated with the address book for these properties. So this is building 150404, which will have an address book. And that address book, there's a program, it's the R01120, which you can run, which will update the address books with the latitude, longitude, and that's what the property map uses. So that's a quick look at the very first one out here. Organization chart is another one. That is another one that was rewritten into JET app. And again, as I talk about these, not only the fact that I think the JET apps are more attractive and easier and better to work with, I think they're easier to modify and use. You can, Java Extension Toolkit is a free Oracle development app that you can use to create your own or modify them. But you do not require an ADF server anymore. And I've had customers who did not implement ADF servers, so these were not available, including like the Work Center load review. So in here, this one allows you to, query up, find an employee by name or by their ID, any kind of information to find the employee that you're interested in. We can select them, apply that to the org chart display, and then you'll see the org chart display. Again, like with the property map, the default image for the employee's address book is what you'll see in here. And they give you a little snippet of information, their contact information, their address, who they're, what organization they're in, who, and contact for them. So, and then you can navigate and loop around and work different angles on it. So I think we could take this and let's look at like Rod McLean. So I can now focus in on Rod McLean, and I can see he reports to Kathy McDougall, and then he's and student 201108 reports to Rod McLean. So this was a big switch from the older Java extension tool. I mean, the older ADF application was easier to, this is easier to navigate. You can zoom in, zoom out, change the layout of it, within it, and take advantage of, just the navigation within the JET app to see them. Okay. A totally new application, well, actually not completely new, but a new application written in Java Extension Toolkit is the planning summary for those of you folks that are using MRP, material requirements planning, and getting messages out of your system. And, this is an example of this, how you can get to this. I put this middle app, this new resource summary and console app into an E1 page as a dashboard concept. It's, it's like an example of a UX1 page with notifications, watch lists of issues, and then a springboard, which if you haven't seen a springboard, those are common applications that your user would use to navigate around. So I can minimize the content on the watch list. I can minimize the content on the springboard, and then just focus in on where I'm at with the planning summary. So as you can see here, there's a little bit of setup to this one, in that you just define what are your critical items are, and how you categorize the messages out of JD Edwards. So in this case, the high value, the critical messages highlighted by a red are order and expedite, increase messages, and past due order messages. The low ones are just orders, and I don't have any. Those are medium, and I don't have any low messages. So you can navigate to the resource, to the planning, through the graphic image presented through the JET form. So we can highlight, and as a planner would work with this, they would look at their critical messages first, and then they would go into the messages. So this app actually shows you days until the receipt of this problematic item. The item it wants is, you got a message to order, and then days to the second receipt. So you get quick snapshot and visibility into your messages and what's going on with it. This used to be a application that was requiring Oracle Oracle database to handle the performance, but since with 9.2.6, the 64-bit performance, you can now take advantage of this, and that the fact that it's written in Java extension toolkit. You don't need any extra database support or performance improvements. So if we highlight this row exit, then there's still a lot of the standard messages that your current planners take advantage of now. You can go look at supply demand inquiry. So they look at this and they can say, oh yeah, they can see they're in trouble on this. They've got, they're short, they've got 543 available, and yet they're short like 137 for it. So they're in trouble on this particular item. And then what they would do is go back into the planning message itself and then release it. But what they can do now is go into the planning console for this particular item, the bike, and navigate into it, and they can see here. Now, here is one thing I really like, is see up in this upper right-hand corner are critical items. So a planner is flagged. The planner has flagged some items that are critical items, so that he wants it to jump out at them. I see a question, Angela. This is the planning summary. The planning summary was not part of the UX1. I added it to the page that I created. I took a UX1 page that was existing out there and replaced the middle analyze with the resource planning console. So it's just an easy thing to do, and that's the way I created it. It wasn't a standard one. But now, so as you look at this, I've got, it's suggesting you order these bikes, right? This item number 220. And up here is showing you critical items that you need for them. So we can click on that, and it shows me I've got two items, a shift kit and a standard chain, that I'm in trouble, that I don't have, and I need to order those. So from here, you can continue on and go to the planning console for this standard chain. And you can see a graphic along here. You can just see that I'm in the hole on these guys. So you can go to the planning console on this guy, and here is where you would create a planned order, and then you can do multiple things and multiple activities and then implement the plan, or kind of a what if scenario you can do. And I have planning selection in here. That's what defaulted in when I navigated to it. We can look at what's flagged as beginning inventory on hand. So you can see I'm short 8 of these chains, but if I include safety stock, I'm no longer in trouble with them. I mean, so I get that from a planner's perspective, it makes it easier for him to deal with the situation, because he doesn't have to enter an order and maybe rush it as a critical order. He can go ahead and just order what he needs without having to call the vendor and getting in earlier. So what then they can do in here, create a planned order, how many he wants to order, there's 25 of them, what date he wants to have them come in tomorrow, and then who the supplier is for that, or he could initiate a transfer order. And those are all things that they might do as they're working through the messages from MRP. So this is just giving a warning. The ship date is not a work date, but you've now created the purchase order request, if you will, getting ready. So they could go back to working more and more of the items, and then they might click, and then they would implement the plan, which would actually create the purchase orders, and or if it's a manufacturing item, create a work order. Or they can restore the plan and reset it back to where it was. They keep on working through the plan. I can go back to my planning console, and we can just for now here, we're back to the bike itself. The assembled components you can see here is where they would create a work order for these bikes. Same kind of thing. When you want to have them come in, we can have them come in next week, or or create a transfer order, and say that, so that when you then implement the plan, it will go ahead and create. In this case, if I'd have left the purchase order out there, leave the work order out there, it would create those orders. Or again, we can restore the plan and navigate on through. There's a lot more information available through the console and the planning summary. Just scrolling through it to make it easy for your planners to do their work. And this one actually started with a filter, where for me, I had a query that just focuses on bikes. Those are my responsibility as a planner. So between the query and then here's the item selection, this is my configuration name that I talked about, which says what are important and critical and non-critical messages that for me to deal with. So that's a quick view of the planning summary workbench, right? So then what do I want to do? Restore my 2 pages, right? And I can put my pages back, All right, so the next one that's brand new is called staff utilization, written primarily for asset maintenance, capital asset management, but it works also for service work orders, and realistically, it would work for any kind of work order that you use. As you create work orders, or they're created, resource assignments can be automatically set by the system, or somebody working with the work orders can assign the resources to perform the work. But now we have the new staff utilization application, which you can look at by crew or craft, or crew or craft, or by the assignee, or by supervisor, or across the top here, we can just refresh the data. It's showing where the date, and so you've got work orders in here, and you can see Marchezo Dominic is overloaded. You can also just highlight and click on overutilization, and you'll just see who the technicians, what staff is overutilized. And then you can use this application to then adjust the workload. So you can highlight them. You can work with their working hours, maybe put them into an overtime shift or something like that, or find another resource to go ahead and assign to it, or reschedule the assignments. And this is where the JET app comes in hand. So you can see this technician is overloaded by 6 hours. He's got 3 orders in here: an emergency motor replacement, and installing a safety switch, or replace a motor on a vertical mill. And you can just simply highlight and drag and drop. And if I move these 2 hours, this 2-hour job over, we can move it in. So now he's only short 2. And if we move the 5 hours over, probably move it over to another day, then we're balancing and getting the work order, getting their work balance where they're not overutilized anymore. So you keep on working through there. There's different navigational steps in here. You can undo as you're working through it, just like you can. So you can back it all out. These are orchestrations that are getting launched by the JET form, right? So there are orchestrations to undo what you do as well. So there, we're going to go ahead and close that out. We're back to where we started with staff utilization. I do need to mention, in both of those cases, you're still going to use a resource assignment. However you do that, either manually assigning them, as an individual may come in and do that. You can do that, or automatically assign based on the task. Justin Wang asks, is staff utilization only for work order, or can be used for a job? It is only driven over work orders. But now, to have said that, if your job, your JDE job cost job is creating a work order, it can use work over those work orders. And it would, it doesn't really grab time from the data from the timesheets. It would be the work order itself, and you would assign those work orders. And I'm guessing that, if you use JDE job costs, and you can create work orders for those jobs. So if you do the work order for a job, then it would feed into that, because it's all driven by the document type, be it a WM, an SV, or and I think in the job cost, it's a WO, which would work just fine as well. Okay, let's see here. Now, not a lot of people use the rental module, but just the same, they gave us some new functionality in rental modules. So if you're not familiar with JDE rental management, you could have equipment, and then there's a rental module for it, which you can reserve equipment. You can see what in this new JET app allows you to see visually where the item sits in maybe the different warehouses or yards where you have your equipment, to see if it's available. So as somebody would be contacting me for I think this is a compressor, right? You can see I've got 25 in branch plant 310 and 20 in a distribution center. And as you highlight them, you can highlight them both, and you can see then what's available and what's already under contract. So this is all new, very nice, handy information. And what it is what's beautiful about this is that, see, this is driven by the contract beginning and end date. So you can see, back here, when this contract ends, I'm going to have 25 available again. So this allows you to navigate into, creating the rental contract, or yes, I've got air compressors, and I've got, you're closest to my D30 distribution center, so they can go ahead and enter and drive into a rental contract for that air compressor, right? So we would, maybe it's for, let's see, I think this is 3121 Thornton Engineering, right? And we can I call up the item. What date we want this to start. Let's go with 10/20. 522. I think we can, oh, gotta get my data right. Well, anyways, if you're familiar with how you enter a contract in JDE, this will do it. I think it should default everything else in here. No, okay. So there's a delivery date, the rest of the contract start date. So I got to fix these guys. Sorry about that. I should have my default set up to do this. So we're going to have it delivered on the 25th, and we're going to install it on the 25th and start. And then we're going to be able to go on okay. And we can call out the item that we want to add on a reserve for this contract. And we know that it's available because we've gone ahead and checked it out. And when we're done with it, then we can come back into our view here. We can refresh the data. And see the entry for the items that we just put underneath contract. We got to look out to the future, to the 25th. So go to the future to see that. Come on, you guys. We're looking at the 25th, where we've got I didn't put any quantity on it. That's why I'm not seeing it. That's okay. You get I think you get the point of that. So rental item, and I only know a few customers, but you know, just to let you see that how that works. Let's see now with just a few minutes. Oh, we got plenty of time here. So the next ones are visual bill of materials for manufacturing and where used diagrams as well. So we can do the visual bill. We can look for the item that we were just looking at in the planning and the branch plant M30, which is my manufacturing facility. And we refresh the data, and you're going to get a visual bill of materials with all of the parts with images, which is the default image that's attached to that item in that branch plant throughout the system. So nice graphical representation, exploded bill of materials all the way on down to 3-level bill of material here, graphical view. There's also a graphical where used, which is another new one. In this case is the, we can look at with where I'm using, I think it's, what did I have here? Looking at the standard chain, that's the one that we were dealing with in the as a critical item that we were short, right? And you can see that chain is used in 4 different bicycles, giving you a graphical representation of it. The one, and I don't know if anybody's doing it, there's a joint venture visual app that is very similar to the property location map, but it's available in this release as well. And then probably, I think, somebody asked the images saved for the visual bill. The images are attachments to the item masters. So each item master, so if I go into my P40, I mean, they're just attachments to the images, and the bill will read through, the bill of materials will read through it, get the items, and bring those images. And when you attach an image, you say this is the default image, that's the one it will pull in. Now, the last one, probably one of my favorite, the favorite one of all, because this was a rewrite from the old ADF application, and I think a lot of people take advantage of this one. I know I've worked at it, helped people implement this one, is the work center load review, right? Again, you can have like I put it on an E1 page here as well, right? It doesn't, although this one I think is an out-of-the-box E1 page to support that. So again, you've got your alerts with, issues with materials for manufacturing, and then the springboard on the right, which I can close both those off so we can just focus in on what we're looking at here. So minimizing the content. So in here, and I've got it set default to where I know my troublesome work center is 200.201. You can see on the 18th, I ended up in an overcapacity situation on that work center. So I've got one work order 456729, and then I've got a new work order starting up that day, 4, 5, 6, and we can get into the details of it. And just like you could in staff utilization, you can reschedule this work order, right? So the way I always work with it, I go to the end, the last step in the work order, right? And we can, because you can see where it's causing overload at any other work centers, and you start by dragging and dropping and moving it in. So let's move this into next week. And so that's on that 201 work center. So I can see now I've only got one issue here on, I've got a couple more for other work centers, the 901 and the 911 work centers. We can undo these as well, or go ahead and go look at those other work centers then. So I've taken fixed my capacity issue on work center 201. We can close this one and then come back and work with, look at one of the others. So my other work center that was having an issue was 901, right? So we can go back in there and do the same kind of thing until you get your capacity adjusted. Same kind of thing, right click, and we can adjust these work centers by rescheduling and dragging and dropping and moving them around. I kind of did a lot of overlapping and stuff like that to show you the impact that the whole thing can have. So you can see I've got, by doing this one, I probably need to move it out into November to really release the load that's going on with these other work centers. So we can drag and drop and move this work order out, what did I say, until November. Maybe if we move it out in here, and we're going to get in better shape. This is just giving me a warning that the start date should not be less than today's date, which is what it's trying to do. And when I created that, I did that so that we would see the impact upon all of this stuff. But you keep on working through your issues and with your work centers in a drag and drop mode using the work center load review. And again, there used to be one, it was an ADF server requirement. The ADF is no longer required for any of these. And it's a Java Extension Toolkit Jet app along with orchestrations to perform the data retrieval and the data updating within it. You can be on 9254 and above, any release at that level and above, you can apply these. And as I was saying earlier, if you are interested in these, please attend our sessions next week in Focus. And Brian Thompson is going to go through how you download them and install them and implement them and whatnot. And I did not go into the new PO approval app. I mean, there is one, and I think there's going to be a couple more announced next week. Those are not Jet apps, just so you're aware of. Those are built with Visual Builder Cloud Studio. Same thing as Visual Builder, but Visual Builder Cloud Studio is the free application app for JD Edwards, and I have those working. I can show them to you if you want to follow up. And I have screenshots of them. Let's see. I think somebody's got a question. Okay, in the chat. So Mike, that's all I really had for today.
Okay.